So let's start with, what do you do and how long have you been doing it?
We are a real estate brokerage primarily. We do have a property management arm as well. And we have about 35 or so associates. All are 1099. I do have a couple of W-2 earners, but for the most part, it's independent contractors.
When I did my research, you've been in real estate a long time.
Yes, I have been doing this for about 30 years now.
Wow. So how do you structure your team?
Well, there isn't a formal way of doing it. When you work with 1099 labor, independent contractors, you have to let them find their path and sort of settle into where they're most comfortable. So I try not to be too stringent upon them and forcing them into one area of expertise or showing up at the office a certain time or anything. I just pretty easy with them. But they ultimately do work well with me, and we figure out the right way to be with one another. And I have some people that are more heavy into office. I have others that are more heavy into residential or industrial or retail or multifamily. And others just do management, apartment leasing. It's kind of where their expertise is strongest. But I try and play into their expertise. I try and push out what makes them unique. And most of them have experience in other areas. So we try and lead with that. So if someone has a hotel background, they're more likely going to be a better broker in that world of hospitality. Or we have others that are in restaurants. So we push that expertise out and try and lead with that as much as possible.
Makes sense.
A lot of real estate companies, their brand is the company. It's not necessarily the agent. But with us, it's the agent that's the brand, not so much the company, if that makes sense. I really try and make my associates have their own unique offering to the world so that they're able to differentiate themselves from everybody else.
And how do you help them build that? How do you support that?
Well, we start with their background. We lead with their expertise. What I like to do is focus on what really sets them apart. And I put them on transactions that are going to be more in line with their background. And then I celebrate them. We get written up a lot in the newspaper, Business First, in different places. And we talk about, Sal Rubino just closed this restaurant, or Florence Brown just did this office space or something, and we try and get them as much attention as possible for what they just did. That attention becomes part of their brand. It's part of what allows them to market themselves and set themselves apart from the others.
Rewards and recognition is so undervalued.
It is.
Glad to see that you're using it. So real estate has just been a wild ride for the last couple of years. Have you had any challenges getting people or keeping people?
Not really. I'm not so worried about the headcount in the office as I am keeping good people. And I haven't had any trouble with that. We still have a fabulous group of colleagues that do wonderful things, and I'm very proud of. Again, we're just not pushing it too hard either way. We focus on quality to the client, and, everyone just takes their seat around the table. It isn't so much a forced thing. I don't really care how many agents I have. I don't care how many I add. I'm not playing that game. That's not a benchmark for me. Other companies, it could be, they want to get to a magic number of 100 or do this or that. I don't, it's not something I care about. I'd be fine with 10, if I had the right people, but I'm happy with the number I have.
How many do you have right now?
About 35.
That's a pretty significant team.
It's not too bad. Real estate people don't hold office hours, really. They don't show up. We're always working, but they're working from their car, their home, or wherever they are. So I don't see them a ton, but I do see many.
As you've grown after 30 years, I'm sure you've had some challenges along the way. Is there a particular challenge that you learned from that you'd want to share with us?
I've been doing this for 30 years this year. And over the years, I've always wanted stability, like a regular job. And no one would hire me. So I just had to make it work. And fortunately, it did. But I think getting to a point where I was able to mitigate the highs and the lows a little bit to where I'm able to operate and raise a family and do the things that we all want to do in a turbulent, topsy-turvy industry. We're only as good as our next deal. We can't rely upon a paycheck every 2 weeks. I've had to make that work.
That's got to be a particular challenge for your employees. So is there one trait that you look for in someone that can be successful?
Well, you have to be a little entrepreneurial. You have to be in a state of mind that allows for that. If you're already having trouble making ends meet when you enter the business, it makes it so much harder when you come in and you're waiting on that next commission check, which could be any time. I mean, it could be a year, could be 6 months, could be 3 months. You just don't know. And it's really hard for people to adjust to that. So usually there needs to be another spouse or some source of income or someone that doesn't need it that badly to make it work. But it can be a very lucrative industry. And my agents, some of them make $500,000 a year.
Wow. So what do you think is the main motivator for your agents?
Well, everyone loves what they do. They love helping others. I like to say we're a specialty, sort of niche-based business in a commoditized industry. And what I mean by that is we're not chasing the 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath house listing like a lot of the agents in this market are. We're more focused on the long-term representation of a client, and we fulfill all avenues of their needs. So we will get involved in the commercial, we'll get involved in the residential, we'll help with estate planning. We have expertise in that area. We'll help with business acquisition or disposition. We do sell businesses. We also can handle investment properties and, everything pretty much.
Explains why
And
I
we
see
love
your
it all.
signs all over town.
Well, maybe it's an ADHD problem, but we do love the opportunities that this offers. I like to say that we lead with the flesh and blood, not the bricks and mortar.
That's great advice for somebody
Yeah.
who's trying to grow people and grow their team.
Yes, thank you.
Tell me, where's the company going in the future?
Well, that's a great question. I'm not really sure. I mean, we like to be malleable so that we can handle the ups and downs of the industry. Most likely, we're going to continue doing what we've been doing, which is not trying to put ourselves in a box, but let us evolve with the changing needs of the customers and the industry. We'd like to do more investment type stuff. We'd like to get more involved in putting together transactions beyond just a purchase and sale of a real estate property. We love businesses. I could see us creating some real estate funds because we have great visibility of the industry and we're not just pigeonholed into one area, such as multifamily or industrial. We're kind of all over the place. I don't know. I think that more of the same. It really depends on where our customers want us to be.
So if you're talking to someone who's looking to grow their team and get solid, reliable people the way you have, what advice would you give to them?
Be good to them. Don't be stingy. Don't be parsimonious. Give them a little bit more when you can. Let them win. Let them get the recognition. Spread the wealth. Don't just hoard all the listings or the properties or the opportunities. I try and bring someone on to almost every deal I do. Now, that doesn't mean they have to reciprocate. It's nice when they do, but they don't always, and that's fine. My name's on the door, and I need to do that. I need to be able to spread the wealth a little bit. So I try to as much as I can. And my recommendation is if you're going to be the person that has the name on the door or has a title and you're in my kind of industry, you have to let your colleagues win. Your objective needs to be not being the number one income earner in the office, which I would say I'm probably not. I couldn't be happier. I want my people to win.
I love that. And the Engage and Grow program, that's one of the things that we do is teach leaders how to have that mindset so that when everybody wins, the organization wins, the team wins.
Yeah, I agree. And it's been helpful. It's certainly been part of the reason why we have done well is that I've had that attitude along the way. It's had to evolve. I mean, it didn't immediately happen that way. In fact, I never set out to be a brokerage with a lot of people. I was just trying to survive myself. But I've learned over time, you just have to relax a little bit and let it be what it's going to be and let people sort of fall into the right spot that's comfortable for them.
You mentioned change and constant change, and I do have a book on change management and dealing with people. I'd love to send that to you as a thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other closing remarks you want to add?
I think the main thing is we're in a weird time in business and economy and general relations and war, everything. It's just a very interesting time. And I think that one thing we all need to do is slow down a little bit, not get too worked up about any one thing, just take it as it is and be malleable. That's really the secret of our success is we've allowed the market to gently guide us into certain areas that we haven't been before. But it's been great because a lot of the other more rigid businesses and offices around town that we consider competitors have tried to stick to what they know, and they've missed opportunities by not being more, as I say, malleable, by being a little bit go with the flow kind of attitude. As an employer, that's also an important comment because people individually mirror the industry sometimes. You need to let them deal with their own issues and their own family challenges and what's happening in their lives. The way the industry is going through its changes. Across the board, you just need to be a little lighter on those relationships and try harder to find the best in them. That's my takeaway, is that I've been able to accomplish that with my own people. And we've been able to do that with the industry. Though we all have had challenges and we recognize the market is not going to be stable the way we like it to be, we found areas that we can excel in those pockets of insecurity.
Are you a little bit of a risk taker?
Well, I would say by virtue of where I am in life, I have to be. But I don't think I set out to be that. But I have no other options. I mean, no one would hire me.
I find that hard to believe, but
they hire me every day for real estate transactions, but I was never able to get a job. You know, I wanted a W-2 job for years when I was getting started. Probably the first 15 years, that's all I really wanted was some security and stability. I was raising kids and it was a hard way to live, but I have no other options. What's interesting though is by being an independent contractor like a real estate agent, even though you don't have the stability of a regular paycheck, your disposition allows you to actually roll with the punches a little bit better than if you were with a company and you did have a regular check and you were laid off. You kind of feel like you're back to ground zero and you're empty. But you build up a resistance to that when you're an independent contractor. It's just a way of life. And you just pick up yourself and just hit the streets and you don't let it get to you too much. A lot of times when my friends lose their jobs and they're making a W-2 income and nice company, nice benefits, and then they end up with some termination agreement of some kind, it's devastating. Honestly, sometimes it's almost impossible to recover from it. You know, it's a major blow to the ego and confidence and everything else. But when you're an independent contractor like us, you know, it's just part of your life.
So you must believe there's always another deal around the corner.
There always has been.
Clearly it's working for you. So if somebody offered you a W-2 job today, what would you say?
I would refer to one of my friends that lost theirs. Honestly, I'm happy where I am. It didn't happen overnight, but it certainly gotten to that point where I'm comfortable.
Well, I'm so glad to hear it. Love learning about you and your team and how you connect with them.
I've enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.